Hello, hello, it is the Trading Captain, and I'm currently sitting down $13.75 on the day. Now, as you can see here, I only took 2 trades today. Very difficult day. A lot of stocks weren't really resolving well, and I want to spend a little bit more time on this one, but we'll get there when we get there. So first of all, I want to explain the context of what was going into today. We saw that yesterday was very hot, but going into today, we saw a lot of stocks experiencing this weird pop and dump feature where stocks would just pump up and immediately sell off and there was no real recovery at all. It made it very difficult to trade in any market or any condition where you're trying to trade it for a curl or just trying to trade for a dead cat bounce. Regardless, it was very difficult to trade to the long side today. At least that's what I found. So my first trade was on SNTI. This was one where the float was a bit larger. That was important here because as we had this consolidation and this curl, I ended up buying into the lower part of this breakdown, did get a nice resolution, and at around 350, I saw that when we broke, it was only by 1 penny, and I was a bit hesitant, so I ended up cutting the trade early, did end up resolving, and you could maybe say that this was because I was being a little bit too anxious to pull the trigger, but at the same time, the higher float really made conviction more difficult. Normally, you want to see a level like 350 or psychological level break very quickly, and the fact that it was not doing that was a red flag in itself. So I think both of those are valid points to make in that. So to move on, we had ENVB. This was another one I was watching, and this one had a pretty nice setup in how it worked out. You had relatively low volume here on this final push down, and when we did break, again, very low volume, and we saw it kind of bottom out and steady. So I had 1/4 size here looking for a potential curl, ended up failing, and I felt enough conviction that I added into regular size here with 100 shares, looking for some kind of curl, and we just really didn't get that. It just kind of kept going lower on basically no volume. I did think about adding more here at around the 550 levels, but ultimately did not. I was just a little bit too afraid given the market context and given how this has had no real momentum or resolution at all. So I just kept the regular size, ended up selling at 587 during this pullback here. Had I continued holding, it would have actually recovered and I would have made money. But the reality is that you can't always just hold and hope like that. And even this procedure here where I even said this during the live stream, I felt that there was a good chance this would bounce. I was very confident in it. But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, when are you going to let this go? Because I held this stock for almost an hour, which is a very long time to hold, especially whenever there's no volume. And with a spread of 30 cents, at one point, if I wanted to bail on the bid, this was looking at a $40 to $45 loss. So the fact that I was able to recover some of that is nice, but you got to ask yourself, when is the pain too much? And I think going into tomorrow, I'm going to try and calibrate a little bit better as for sizing for a max loss scenario. Now, granted, it was this kind of setup that got me that huge win yesterday, so I do have to take it with a grain of salt. You could argue that this is the trade-off, but with that said, I'm going to wrap it up here. I feel overall happy that I was able to have a small red day in regards to how the market was doing today. A lot of stocks were failing. And just going forward, I want to be a little more mindful of my exposure that I'm giving to this. Now, if I had lower exposure, I would have felt even more comfortable holding, but because I went to 100 shares, this exposure felt a little bit high to me. I got kind of bailed out in a sense. So I'll keep in mind that going into tomorrow. And that pretty much wraps up the recap. If you liked what you saw here, please do leave a like, helps me out, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care.